Hi there, welcome to some of the latest news on the Jay Slater case and certain theories resurfacing once again, but included in official news articles. Today we're looking at the beach area, the mountains, how one could have fallen off, landed in the ocean, or even meeting at the beach with someone or some people, directly or indirectly, to do with a boat, boarding a yacht. These are different ideas going about, which have been mentioned previously, but they're coming back into discussion. And I wanted to take a look at it myself to make sense of why something like that would happen or how it could. So you got Jay Slater, you got his final phone ping in a certain area, the mountainous area. Just so happened on the day of Jay's disappearance, there was a specific yacht near Masca Beach passing on by, and the radar or the tracking behind it just turned off and mysteriously disappeared. Is it like a ghost ship situation, or is it more so whoever was operating that yacht did not want to be traced or tracked? But why would that be? Is it because they're about to do some kind of criminal activity? They're going somewhere where they're not supposed to be. Where they're going, they're going to do criminal activity or have a meet up with someone. Anything to do with the criminal underground and networks, who knows, right? So it's about like combining one thing with another, the possibilities that they may have met on their pathways, direct or indirect. Now, where the beach area is, which I believe has been searched previously, no clues. I mean, if Jay was to go down to the beach, first of all, why? As some kind of shortcut to make it back to where he wanted to go. I mean, we saw the gorges, saw how it looked visually. At least one of the beaches, you get there, you got the sand, and then you got the mountains around you, and then the ocean, the water. Well, you can't really go anywhere else unless there is a boat waiting for you. Was Jay anticipating that at the time? I don't think he was, but maybe he went to the beach to get a clear open view to see if there was an alternative way, or to see if there was anything around which he could take as opportunity to help himself along the way. I mean, yeah, he was dehydrated, he was very thirsty. Maybe without thinking clearly, did he think, oh, I'll go to the beach, I'll go to the water area to get some water, to find some clean water. Obviously, that wouldn't really be possible. It would be impractical to get water from the sea, the ocean. It'd be very silly unless you had some like water filtration system, or you were able to boil the water and get rid of all the germs and the bacteria and etc., the salt water, separate it. But I don't think Jay would be up to scratch with that. He's not some kind of outdoor survival expert. That's what we need to understand. Maybe there are some people out there in the community that think Jay could be here or there or still alive and camping about and moving place to place. He's not Ray Mears, he's not Bear Grylls, he's not some outdoor expert, is he? Okay, 19-year-old, somewhat vulnerable. And you could say vulnerable at the time, at least, because of appearing scared, lost, not being able to use the phone thereon because of the phone dying. We saw previous theories about the phone being disposed of, chucked away by him so he couldn't be traced or tracked, or by someone else, chucking it in a particular direction as a form of misdirection. But if Jay wants to get back, technically he would also probably want to be found and helped, especially if he's lost, unless somebody else has come along the way to dispose of the phone themselves to make sure that Jay can't be found. And maybe if it was like an outside force, someone or some people somehow kidnapping or trafficking him, or whatever terms you want to call it, because these are theories that have come about within the case, within the community, spread about. I'm just bringing it in today to try and make sense of it. That is all. But those outside forces may not know that Jay's phone was almost dead or literally dead. And once it's dead, I don't think you can track it. The phone needs to be on, whether phone calls are made, text messages are sent, or activity using certain apps which require location or some kind of data, which then can reveal where you are. If you turn your phone off or it's just completely dead, you can't really trace it any further. That's why there was only one final phone ping, and that's when the phone died at that point thereon. So in the eyes of those that didn't know the percentage of the battery, they'd just be thinking, well, we don't want this on Jay if we're taking him, because wherever we go with him and the phone goes, then anyone else would know where. So if on the basis, and we'll get into the article shortly, don't worry, make sure to stick around and read for it, all the different theories and concepts, how it links or interlinks together. But if for some reason Jay's going off the beaten pathway, trying to find shortcuts, trying to find an alternative way around, gets into a sticky situation, or cross paths with others out there, and whether it be by choice or not, taken via a boat to where? I think some people were saying Morocco or something. There's some kind of criminal activity going on there, transporting goods or people from place to place. I know it can happen in the world. Would Jay Slater have come across that? I mean, making it sound like some kind of gangster's paradise, at least over there. Now, whilst there might be criminal activity, is it on the surface level or more underground? If it's more underground, you may not see it as much. But for Jay to be in the middle of nowhere, almost very rural, desolate place, you might be more likely to come across some dodgy stuff which you normally wouldn't see when you're in the populated areas where it's more monitored, there's more surveillance, and the bad people know not to act in those places because it would stand out more and it would be documented easier. So did Jay come across something he wasn't supposed to see and then he was silenced and taken away? Did Jay come across people near to the beach or a boat or a yacht and thought, hey, I can wave them for safety to be rescued? And, you know, in a situation like that, if you're stranded on an island, you see a plane or a helicopter flying over or a boat in the distance, you'll be waving, you'll be saying, help me. You might light a smoke, fire signal, you do whatever it takes to get the attention of the people passing on by. And early on, you will have no clue who they really are, right? It could be strangers, could be members of the public, could be authorities, it could be pirates, it could be criminals, it could be anyone. But when you're in a desperate situation and you need help, you don't care who they are, you wish for them to help you, to come towards you, pick you up and take you where you need to be. And I guess in the situation Jay was in, when he was panicking, when he was scared, when he was dehydrated, he had no other options, possibly reached like a dead end in a way if he was to get to the ocean, because you can't go any further because you'd have to end up swimming out, and obviously that's not practical at all. So if there was a yacht or a boat parked up nearby or passing by and Jay waved his hand and it came on over and then he, you know, went on board with it, where did he go from there? Has that yacht been traced back since? Has it been found? That's kind of unknown of. Could Jay be on a boat right now or has been dropped off elsewhere? Did it go wrong or did it backfire? Because this is the thing, you don't know who could have been on that yacht or on a boat if Jay stepped on board. But considering that, to begin with earlier on, you know, he met up with those two guys, trusted them, and then went away with them to that Airbnb. So if, you know, people could say, well, Jay did that by choice. The family say he's not stupid enough to go with them, especially if he's lost his key. He could always go back to the place they were staying at, which was only 10 minutes away. But still, it seems like maybe Jay had a better offer, so he went with the two guys, up to that Airbnb. But then things backfired from there, ended up leaving abruptly. And then the next person Jay may have seen, he may have been thinking, you know what, this is a better offer, there's a boat there, there's a form of transportation, maybe I can use it to get away. I'll do it at all cost, whatever it takes to get back. But maybe those on that boat weren't intending on returning him back or going to that place, that they went elsewhere. If that really was the case, then it would be probably impossible to find Jay, especially if you still believe he's on that island in particular, going round in circles. If he's gone far, far, far away, how would you be able to tell? You'd have to be looking at cameras, surveillance, airports, boatyards, dockyards, whatever there may be, wherever it is, right? Still in Tenerife or going beyond that, who knows? So with that being said, I just wanted to lay it all out as to why Jay could be tied in with this or that theory and concept and apply it to this article which has come out just recently. Let's begin analysing. Well, here we are, the title, Exclusive, Jay Slater, Secluded Jetty and a Yacht whose tracking beacons suddenly vanished. The most intriguing theory yet is put to the test by Fred Kelly. Read what he discovered. That's the thing, even at the end of the day, that a yacht, a boat ended up disappearing, the tracking never to be found again, even if it didn't link to Jay, that's a mystery itself, right? When you get ghost ships, people at sea, in the ocean that just disappear like that, what's truly going on? Updated 1:57 in the morning, 13th of July 2024 by Fred. So we've got some photos there. On the left is Jay Slater, then on the right is the kind of like beach area, the you call it jetty? Like a pier almost, where a boat, a yacht could park up. How many would pass by that? Probably not as many as you'd think, but here we go. At 600 metres high. It's easy to see why the jagged coastal cliffs of northwest Tenerife are known colloquially as the Wall of Hell. These sheer basalt rock faces which bordered the protected Royal de Tenerife Park are formidable. The water is 30 metres deep at the base, where waves have over millennia chipped away at the volcanic surface to create a profusion of hidden caverns, caves and overhangs. We're getting very descriptive, aren't we? Sound like the Nature Channel in a way. Anyway, to say that profusions of hidden caves, overhangs, even they could be key locations which need to be searched, and some of them have already been. Has Jay been found there? No. If there was ever any clues along the way or evidence to suggest Jay was in one at some point, that's interesting. Would it point in a certain direction? If it's heading towards the beach area, maybe. Could it be that almost 4 weeks ago, on June 17th, the missing British teenager Jay Slater stood on top of these cliffs, dehydrated to the point of delirium, trapped between the near impenetrable ravine of cacti he just walked through, and a 600-metre drop into the Atlantic Ocean? I mean, if he fell into the Atlantic Ocean, 600-metre drop, would that have killed him on impact? I guess it depends how he falls in, but it wouldn't have done him any good whatsoever. And as well, with being dehydrated and not quite there with it, probably drowning, if that was the case. But would it be easy to come across his body if he fell into the ocean? It depends if he's washed up ashore, near to a populated area, near to a beach or not, or if he's taken out to sea, then probably impossible. Officially known as Los Gigantes, the Giants, these vast precipices are just a couple of kilometres from the spot where Jay Slater's mobile phone last transmitted its location. Well, there we go, the Giants. That says a lot. Indeed, in my interview with Chris Pennington on Monday, the former British military reservist who has joined in the search for Slater speculated that he left the main road in the direction of the cliffs, in the belief that it was a shortcut to the coast where he had been staying. So if you think of a coast, you can have a long coast, a long pier, a long beach, winding all the way down. You think you could follow it all the way back. I get what Jay could have been thinking at the time. And he thought, well, if I head this direction, I'll be able to get to that coast and walk all the way back in an open line, and I'll be able to see clearly what's ahead. But not all coast can be like that. Some are short, some are long. Some get cut off by the water itself, the ocean. Like, you get beaches, you get coves, you get gorges, areas where you're coming down to the water and you've got cliffs, mountains on each side, and you can't really go around them because you'd only be walking into the water. So it would be almost like a dead end. Is that what Jay may have come across, which he didn't anticipate? May have been. Jay Slater. There's a photo of the area as an example. Even getting down to the water, it's obviously steep, but I think on the right there are a few steps. But if you trip, you fall, you could bang your head, hit the rock and land in the water. You never know, right? The jetty on Masca Beach near the Airbnb from which Jay set off early in the morning of June 17th. There we go. A pamphlet published by the local tourism board warns there are no safe paths on the cliffs, and it's easy to see why. They are not only steep but also rugged, littered with protruding rocks, brambles, lethal hidden drops. The only way to traverse them is with ropes, harness and helmets, local guide Tammy told them out. And it's interesting how there were people online who weren't even from there nor have been out there saying, well, actually, it's really easy to walk around. All you need is some casual shoes and hardly any clothing. Maybe some have managed, but, you know, as it's worded here, it's dangerous. You're going out into the open, you're going out into nature, you got to be prepared for everything because it could backfire. If Slater, the 19-year-old trainee bricklayer from Lancashire, did indeed find his way here, disorientated after fighting through the thickets, a small stumble could have led to a bloody and sudden death. We must hope that he never ended up on these perilous cliffs. But if not the cliffs, where could he possibly have disappeared to? There is another theory to explain the mystery that has confounded all who have searched for him. Could it be that Jay Slater hurled his phone into the thicket to avoid detection, to not be found, before taking an entirely different and safer route down to the shore? Could he then have boarded a boat and left the island? By choice? Question mark. Why would he want to hurl and get rid of his phone? Depending where you can charge that phone up, and you've used to board a boat, and if somehow you was able to charge it on the boat, you'd take it with you. Or is it because with Jay Slater being scared, not wanting to return back to the Airbnb for whatever reason that was, but he also didn't want anyone to track his phone either whilst he's trying to get from point A to point B. But at the end of the day, if Jay Slater was scared of anyone from that Airbnb, considering he told them where he wanted to head back, at any point when he made it back there, if he was able to, which supposedly wasn't successful, that the guys from the Airbnb would know where Jay is trying to get back to. So by disposing of your phone, it's kind of irrelevant. People will know where you're going back to because you told them before you left. So they could still try and follow you, trace you down if they really wanted to. So yeah. It says, those who support this explanation cite Slater's alleged theft of a Rolex watch from an Eastern European man on the night of his disappearance, and I think that was at the beach area, and say that the young Briton then fled, and given that the huge drugs underworld on the island had been a line of inquiry, there's also speculation that he could have been taken against his will. Taken against his will near a beach where a yacht was when a deal was taking place and he saw too much. Is that how one thing could link with another? Makes you think. Social media has even gone so far as to suggest that Jay has been human trafficked to Morocco. Yeah, I've seen those comments on my channel recently about Morocco, but it says there are photos supposed to advance this theory is far from convincing. Well, that's not good. But could Jay, for whatever reason, have left the island somehow? Local guide Tammy informed the Mail that there is a well-trodden path from Masca near the Airbnb Jay stayed in before setting off early in the morning to get back to the coast, which takes you down to a secluded beach, the perfect spot from which to board a small vessel. This is a theory that has gained traction in recent days following the news that a 14-foot yacht named Maruba was recorded sailing past Masca Beach around the time of Slater's disappearance. Bizarrely, the boat mysteriously then vanished from electronic charts, an unusual event that could be explained by the captain purposely switching off his transponder to avoid detection, but the Mail is in no way suggesting that it was occurred in this case. But there's possibilities, Why else would you want to turn it off? You just don't want to be followed. You don't want to be followed because you're going to do something bad, you're engaging in criminal activity, or you don't want to be followed because you're on the receiving end of it and you don't want to be chased down. Weird. There's another pathway there. Is that the well-trodden one, if that's what they're talking about? Fred Kelly walks through the Masca Mountains with the former British Armed Reservist Chris Pennington as they continue to search. So yeah, you can see the mountainers in the area lean over Bomberos. Search team gathers. In order to test the feasibility of the new theory, I visited Masca Beach earlier this week. From Los Gigantes port, just south of the cliffs, I secured passage on a local boat captained by a rotund man in a white polo who wished to avoid being publicly named. Why is that? Just for personal privacy or for other reasons? But he was keen to resolve the mystery. That's good. In quotes, you're looking for the British teenager, he rasped in Spanish. I want to help. That's good. Travelling at 14 knots, the skipper rode the waves, his eyes fixed on the horizon, except for the occasional glance over at the cliffs on our right-hand side. It was midday and touching 30 Celsius, a time for mad dogs and Englishmen. But with a brisk wind and a creeping sense of unease, it felt closer to single digits. After 15 minutes, we arrived at Masca Beach. There, the Mail found a sturdy jetty made from concrete breeze blocks, which we saw just above in that photo. There were 2 tourist boats moored nearby with 20 or so people on each. Wow, that's a lot. Who were peering at a pod of dolphins. But in the early hours of Monday morning, when Jay could have found himself down there, it would have been completely deserted. Fair enough. Unless those that come out to play, not literally them, the criminals maybe, only go at certain times, really early in the morning, maybe really late at night to avoid detection from tourists and other people passing on by maybe. It is immediately clear that if someone wanted to put something or a person onto a boat without being seen, Masca Beach would be the place to do it. There we go. The captain cut the engine and we bobbed along in silence, drifting on the tide. We floated towards the pebbly beach. According to tracking data logged by the marine traffic website, the Maruba moored near the Barranco Seco beach, a couple of miles short of Masca Beach at 7:10 a.m. in the morning of Slater's disappearance. By 8:50 a.m. and Jay's phone last pinged, the Maruba was recorded travelling past Masca Beach. Could the vessel have stopped there to pick up the teenager? And if so, was Slater embarking of his own free will? The Belgian registered vessel then performed an unexplained 360-degree loop before mysteriously vanishing from electronic charts around 10 in the morning. And it's never been seen since. That is creepy. Over the following 9 days, Maruba's movements remained unrecorded. And then suddenly, 9 days later, the boat appeared again for just 2 minutes on the northern side of the tiny island La Gomera, west of Tenerife, and known for its wild tropical rainforest. Is it worth searching that island in case Jay's been dumped off there, marooned? Interesting. Chris speculates that Jay left the main road in the direction of the cliffs and believed that it was a shortcut to the coast. Jay's phone was found in Playa Juan Lopez, a very secluded beach area. There we go. Out of sight from most people. The Maruba then started to head back towards Tenerife, recording its position again on June 28th, a few kilometres of the Montana Roja Nature Reserve near El Medano on the south coast. From its direction, it was most likely either heading towards Gran Canaria or beyond to the African continent and Laayoune, the largest city in Western Sahara, or even Morocco, a 5-hour sail away. Whilst the Mail is in no way suggesting the Maruba or its crew had anything to do with the disappearance of Jay Slater, or that the transponder was intentionally turned off, the coincidence of the yacht's location and the practice of going dark by turning off its transponder or automatic identification system is certainly curious. AIS is mandated by the International Maritime Organization and it's designated to prevent all marine vessels from risk of collision, particularly in poor weather or difficult sea conditions. So it needs to be left on so everyone knows where one another is. Turning it off is illegal, except in circumstances where safety is at stake in dangerous pirate-ridden waters, for example. I mean, even if you had your radar turned off and you had a bloody decent-sized yacht in the middle of nowhere, you'd still stick out like a sore thumb regardless. But hey, you know, that yacht, who was on it? Have they been interviewed? Not from the looks of it. They might not be linked with Jay Slater, but could they have seen anything whilst they were passing by? Makes you think. Such behaviour is more often associated with drug smugglers, human traffickers, and, in recent times, sanctioned Russian oligarchs seeking to hide their super yachts from authorities. Absolutely. My captain pressed on the throttle once again and we continued up the coast to Juan Lopez Bay. This is the spot where the ravine in which Slater's phone was last recorded comes to an end. There were no boats in sight. It is illegal. We cannot stop here, the captain pronounced. Why so? Presumably, I thought the police had closed the area off to resume their search for Slater, which officially ended almost 2 weeks ago on Sunday, June 30th. Not a bit of it. From February to August, he continued, no one can go within 250 metres of the coast except at Masca Beach. It's to protect the nesting sites of ospreys. Well, you know, to the odd criminal people that don't follow laws, I don't think it would stop them from getting closer. Known locally as Gorincho, the number of these majestic birds of prey have plummeted over the last 20 years. A surge in visitors to the island, mooring in the bays and trampling across the birds' nest sites. That's a shame, as loads of ospreys have been registered as endangered. A boat picking up a passenger such as Jay in these forbidden waters would have risked courting the attention of authorities. But hey, you know, if they'd turn off their tracking, they would probably be able to get away with it, right? It would have been far safer to pick up the teenager at Masca Beach at this time of the year. That is only the spot along the coast where boats are permitted. So, boats that may go somewhere where they're not permitted, you know, the ones who are operating it may not care because they've got pressing matters at hand to get on with, even if it is going against the law. And that says a lot in itself. But we cannot say definitively that Juan Lopez Bay played no part in this story. Perhaps the absence of any other pleasure vessels in the area would have made this a more attractive spot to steal away a British teenager. All the beaches here are connected through a series of caves and tunnels. Tammy told the Mail, they're dark and difficult to pass, but you can walk from one to another if you know what you're doing. Could Jay have done that? Could one feasibly survive in these caves for a short while? I could survive there for maybe a few weeks, Tammy continued proudly. But then I know these cliffs, there are insects to eat and there's fresh water if you know where to find it. And that would have been a key thing which Jay would have wanted, fresh water, because he was dehydrated. Tammy pointed towards a distant cliff to show a water pipe that wraps around the rock. The pipe takes water from the town to the homesteads in the hills. You can get drinking water from there if you're desperate. But if you don't know where the pipe is, you're unlikely to stumble across it. Tammy's words raised the tantalising possibility that Slater, with local help, could have spent a number of days or nights hiding out there, possibly waiting for a boat other than the maruba to steal him away. Hiding down here, one could certainly not be chanced upon by the armies of amateur search groups that continue to scour the land up above without success. Back in Los Gigantes, locals are reluctant to speak out about Slater's disappearance, which sounds a bit dodgy, right? It's clear that there is a code of silence here and the town has closed ranks around its secrets. Well, if everyone's wanting to keep quiet, it sounds like they're trying to protect one another. Could that mean that one another or someone within that community is responsible and the locals are protecting them? Silly. We're a real community, Nat, a tourist shop owner, warns me as she closes up at the end of the day. If my daughter kisses a boy on the beach, I'll have someone on the phone telling me about it within a minute, she laughs, lightly and briefly. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Yeah, but what other things could go on, which get about quick in town? Negative, maybe dark, you never know. Then, with sudden solemnity, I look over her shoulder. It's probably time you headed home, don't you think? Damn, this place is sounding darker by the second, right? Besides, Jay going to that Airbnb, that specific Airbnb, or the people who he's with inside being somewhat of a problem, maybe. Or, even the environment, the terrain, transversing across it, dangerous as well. The actual community, tight-lipped. You probably should go now. What the hell is going on? They're making it sound like some kind of horror film in a way. That small little country town, they all know one another very well, all looking out for one another. But when that outsider comes to town, you better lock your doors, keep one eye open. That's what it sounds like. Fuck me. Is it really necessary? It says, my route out of Los Gigantes takes me past the Catholic Church, Parroquia del Espíritu Santo. On the inside of the door, there's a missing person poster bearing Jay's name and likeness. Beneath it, a rack of electronic candles lit by the faithful for a 50-cent fee. You got to pay for it. As we approach 1 month, so where does that 50-cent fee go to? Towards the church? Towards something else? I wonder. Profiting? As we approach 1 month since Jay went missing, it seems that whatever has happened to him, prayer might just not be the only hope of bringing him home. And there we go. Of course, you can argue and say the counterpoint of, is Jay really that much of an important person to be taken away or smuggled or silenced? Just another person, general public, tourist, visitor, that's all. Nothing special about him. Not to be rude, right? But, in the eyes of others out there that might be criminals or doing dodgy activities and they're getting on with important stuff, would they honestly see Jay as a threat? Obviously not. Would they go to lengths to try and get him, take him away? Probably not, unless Jay got too close or became too trusting within them or desperate, and that the other guys or people thought, you know what, maybe we could benefit from taking him on board for whatever reason that may be. It'd have to be in the interest of whoever on a boat, a yacht, to take someone in, unless it was just for doing like a good favour. But would they really be doing good favours out there? Who knows? Falling from a cliff into the water, if that was possible, if that did happen, how long would it take until his body resurfaces and reaches the shorelines or washed up on a beach nearby? What's the chances of that? How long would it take? Be sure to let me know all your thoughts down below, about this yacht, the Maruba, how it mysteriously vanished for a certain length of time, then briefly reappeared, and then afterwards came back. What the hell's going on there? Is it linked to the Jay Slater case? Is it not linked, but still suspicious things could be going on elsewhere unrelated? Just let me know. Appreciate your patience. Thanks for watching. Feel free to catch up on some of my previous videos on the case. Top right corner screen where the eye symbol is, you'll find it there. We'll see what happens next, but for now, thanks for watching. Goodbye.